A reading from John, chapter 11. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment, and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So, when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this he said to the disciples, Let us go to Judea again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and are you going there again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him. After saying these things, he said to them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover. Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he meant taking rest in sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus has died, and for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. But Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, The teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, Where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. So the Jews said, See how he loved him. But some of them said, Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying? Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, by this time there will be an odour, for he has been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, Unbind him and let him go. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. This is quite a story, this is quite a scene that we have painted for us, and it's a touching scene in many ways. Lazarus was ill, seriously ill. His sisters, Mary and Martha, both of whom knew Jesus well, were convinced that he could help. After all, he'd healed people in the past, so the message went out, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." Note how the sisters made sure that Jesus knew quite who it was who was ill. It was the one whom you love. A message sent with anxiety, yes, but with hope as well. And this message was received. And Jesus' reaction was a hopeful one. This, he said to his disciples, wouldn't lead to death, but to the glory of God and the Son of God. The disciples, who I must assume also knew Lazarus, would have been heartened. Jesus will look after his own, his friends. Poor Lazarus will recover. And look how John, as he's writing this gospel, as he's setting it out, is laying it on thick for us, making sure we see everything that he saw. Not only do we read of the sisters reminding Jesus that he loved their brothers, but John reminds us that he loved all the three siblings. Here then is this scene of Jesus with this family who he knew well, whom he loved, one of whom was sick, coming towards death. And it is that very fact, the very fact of Jesus' love for that troubled family, which makes the next verse somewhat perplexing. So, we read, when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Given that we've read of Jesus' love for the family, and his comment that this illness won't lead to death, it's something of a surprise that he does precisely nothing. We read he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. And let there be no misunderstanding here. It was because Jesus loved him that we read that he remained for 2 days longer. This is a puzzle that leads us into the rest of the passage. Jesus had stated this illness does not lead to death, and confident had not rushed to the aid of the friends that he loved, preferring rather just to stay where he was. And when he finally announced that he would go south to Judea, brushing off the protests of the disciples that this might lead to his own death, he went on to say, Lazarus has died, and for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. So it's a puzzle, and I've laid it on thick because it's important not only to realise the skill of John the Evangelist as he writes the story, but also the eye-catching behaviour of Jesus in this account. He was very much a figure in control. He was acting on his own accord in order to make a point. He was glad that he was not with Lazarus when he died, and it was because he loved Lazarus that he did not get to him before he died. Now, when Jesus did eventually make the journey to Bethany, he found Lazarus, who'd been dead for 4 days, and Martha coming out to meet him. And she spoke, I think, with a wonderful expression of her faith. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died, but even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Martha knows it's never too late with God. Martha knew that it was never too late with Jesus, even if you rather he acted somewhat sooner. Jesus assured her that her brother would rise again, but she assumed that Jesus was talking about some far-off resurrection of the dead on the last day. But a foretaste of that last day was here, since the one standing in front of her was God and could bring about resurrection. I am, Jesus said, the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Jesus is what we might call the life principle. He is life, and so he can bring life out of death. Jesus then asked her, do you believe these words? And she replied, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. And then she went to get her sister Mary, who went out to Jesus, followed by those who were consoling her in her house. And she fell at Jesus' feet, and she says, praise even to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Was this whispered? Was it shouted? We don't know. But she wept along with those with her, and the full rawness of grief was laid bare. And when Jesus saw her anguish, when Jesus saw the crowd around her weeping, he was deeply moved. In fact, the Greek is even stronger. When we turn to the Greek dictionary, we find that Jesus made a noise of, quote, anger and displeasure, that he was stirred up, disturbed, unsettled, thrown into confusion. Here, you see, was the resurrection and the life confronted with death and the tomb. Where is he? Jesus asked. Come and see, they respond. And then he wept. The Messiah in tears, the Son of God with cheeks glistening in the Middle Eastern sun. The crowd saw Jesus' love for Lazarus, but some couldn't just resist a dig. He can heal others. Why didn't he bother with Lazarus? Once more Jesus was deeply moved, and he came to the cave tomb in which his lifeless friend was lying. And then the shocking request. We read, take away the stone. Martha was flabbergasted. Surely Jesus would know that the body would have begun to decay. This is a hot country. There'll be a stench. The man is 4 days dead, sealed up in a stone cave. Now, death may have taken hold. Decay may even have commenced. But the resurrection and the life is the one who's standing in front of the tomb, seeking entrance. And so the stone is rolled away, and the Son prays to the Father, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. There was no need for these words, but Jesus wanted to make sure that the crowd and us, that we understood. Now remember, right back at the beginning of this gospel, the author, John, had spoken of the Word who was in the beginning. He told us that this Word was God and that everything was made through him. We were told in him was life. This Word now speaks once more, saying, Lazarus, come out. And he did. Still bound in his grave clothes, such that Jesus had to order him untied. And then John added, almost as an understatement, many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. And now you have seen. You have seen the Word, who is God, speak life into the corpse of a man 4 days dead, a man he loved, a man he called into life by name. Lazarus, come out. And you also are one whom Jesus loves. Back towards the beginning of this gospel, we had those well-worn words, God so loved the world. Are you not part of the world? Well, then you too are one who is loved by God. And you too are named. Hear the words of God as reported by the great prophet Isaiah, Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. And again, can a woman forget her nursing child, that she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget. Yet I will not forget you. Behold, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. You are loved by your name. Jesus calls you. And how will you respond?